One of the groups that you hear me talk about so often on this program, and it's so apropos, obviously it's always, I think, apropos, but especially so on Veterans Day, is the Purple Heart Foundation, because they do so much for our veterans all around the country, and they have a ton of different programs. I mean, there's, I tell you about a few of them when I talk about them, but they really have a lot that they do. Joining me right now is Wendy Buckingham, and she's the National Scholarship Co-Chair and the Women Veterans Program Director for the Purple Heart Foundation. Wendy, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for your service. Happy Veterans Day to you.
Thank you, Dana. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be on your show today.
It's good to talk with you. Tell folks about the Purple Heart Foundation, because I get so many emails from people, a lot who are asking about the car donation program, and a lot who are asking about the specific programs. I'll direct them to the website because they hear me talk a little bit about it on air. But give us some insight, and specifically the women's veterans programs that you head up as well.
Absolutely. Well, in general, the Military Order of the Purple Heart was founded in 1932, and it was founded for the protection and mutual interest of all those who have received the Purple Heart Medal. Currently, we've got over 40,000 members. We've got a lot of members. And the great thing about our organization, as a veteran service organization, we serve all veterans from all wars and their families. So we're not exclusive to just combat wounded veterans. So you're talking about programs and things like that MOPH does or is involved in. One, we foster community and camaraderie among our combat wounded veterans. So there's at the chapter level, we have monthly meetings. Combat wounded veterans are able to get together. Their families are able to come together, men just as well as women, in those meetings, and really kind of support one another through whatever they're going through, getting out of the military, dealing with, working with the VA to get benefits or to get health care, and can really foster community in those chapter meetings. We also promote patriotism. We support legislative initiatives that support all of our veterans and their families. And then we also provide services to veterans. We've got national service officers who actually help veterans file their claims when they're leaving the military to file for disability compensation with the VA, and we've been extremely successful in obtaining benefits for our veterans.
Yes, and I know that especially with everything that's been happening with the VA and all of that, the controversy too. I know that we've had so many people respond and talk about how the Purple Heart Foundation has been such a blessing to them and their families because of everything that you're able to do. Now, I know that because you have you have the PTS support, you have the vocational training, but you also have programs for women veterans as well. I mean, not to say we love our men, but when women come back, their needs are all, they're different because men and women are different. Give us a little insight into this.
Absolutely. And just to give you some background about women in the military as well, up until 1973, women remained a very small minority in the armed forces, and that was due to some legislation that imposed a 2% cap on women's participation in military service. So about 30 years ago, approximately 140,000 women served in the military, making up less than 1%. But now, since 9/11, approximately 280,000 women have served, which is actually 15% of our active duty force and 18% of our reserve force. And currently, women constitute approximately 20% of our new military recruits across the board. So there's a lot more women who are serving, both in reserve, guard, and then active duty capacity. And then we're also going to see a lot more women becoming, leaving the military and becoming veterans as well, in need of medical care and things like that down the line. So as the Director of Women's Veterans Issues for the Military Order of the Purple Heart, one of the things that I do is I work with our combat wounded women. And what I'm trying to do is build a special community among all of them. So we've got our own webpage that kind of gives them links to really helpful resources, whether it's education related to the GI Bill or it's healthcare related to VA healthcare or employment needs. We have all that online for our women vets. And then we've also got a monthly newsletter that goes out to all of our combat wounded females to try to build that sense of community and give them some helpful information. And I'm always a resource available, so I'll get calls. I'm unhappy with, how I was, a vet will call and say that, she's unhappy about the disability compensation that she received, and so we'll try to assist her in any way that we can to make sure that she understands her benefits and that she's also getting the best assistance possible in order to get access to those benefits as well.
Right. And I know that there's we've talked about the car donation program, which is so unbelievably helpful. It's the best one in the country, the car donation program for the Purple Heart Foundation. And I always tell people, because the thing, Wendy, when they email, they say, really, even if it doesn't run very well? And I am always like, even if it doesn't run very well, yes. Tell us about this.
And that's awesome. That's exactly right. I mean, we have a ton of programs, and if people are really interested and they want to find out more about what they can do to help our veterans, they can go to the Purple Heart Foundation's website, which is it's the purpleheartfoundation.org. They can go to the website and learn different ways to help veterans. They can also, we even have a way that they can text and donate money. They can actually donate $10 to the Purple Heart Foundation by texting the word purple in all caps to 20222. As well, to donate money that really donates to our programs and then helps our veterans.
That's awesome. There's the cell phone for soldiers, and then this is something which is super. I love how it's front and center on the website. The Veteran Suicide Hotline, which our veterans, they've experienced some things that we will probably never. I mean, you can never imagine, and they need to be able to talk it out, and especially if things, if they're having a particularly bad day, it is so important that there's this number 1-800-273-TALK right there on the purpleheart.org website. I mean, is there any? I mean, I'm looking at it at this point. I'm like, is there anything that the Purple Heart Foundation doesn't do? Because you all quite literally cover every single thing that a veteran could need when they come home and they're acclimating to civilian life, Wendy.
And that's absolutely correct. I mean, that's our goal. I mean, our goal is to assist veterans and their families in any way possible. So we've got the National Service Program, like I said before, that really helps our vets. Last year alone, we provided assistance to over 19,000 veterans and their dependents who ended up receiving over $300 million in well-deserved benefits from the VA. So again, we have experts who are trained and accredited to assist our veterans in processing those claims. They get in, they know what they're doing, they take care of our veterans, and they kind of keep them informed all along the way to let them know what's going on. We've also got the Veteran Affairs Voluntary Services, VAVS. What the VAVS program does is they assist our veterans in VA facilities and state veteran-operated homes. So they have grants to provide clothing, personal items, anything that our veterans may need when they are living in those homes or those facilities. We have an Americanism officer that provides support around the country just to promote patriotism and gives patriotic materials to our classrooms and civic organizations, really to encourage participation in the armed forces and just a spirit of patriotism in all our citizens. And then we've got some major legislative proposals as well. Yes.
And everything that you can do to legislatively also protect our veterans as well. If people want to get involved, Wendy, what's the quickest way for them to get involved if they want to donate time, money? Obviously, give to purpleheart.org is where to go. What does the Purple Heart Foundation need the most of right now? Let's ask that.
And that's a really good question. I mean, I think definitely, funding to do what we do is always necessary. One of the things that, in addition to women's issues that I work on, is the scholarship committee. Every year we award approximately 80 to 85 scholarships of about $3,000 apiece to Purple Heart recipients and their lineal family members. It could be a spouse, it could be children or grandchildren. And it's an excellent program, and all of that money comes from the foundation. So it's a great program for us, and we're so thankful that the foundation is able to provide those funds. So again, any type of monetary donation, no matter what the amount, is extremely helpful because it's fueling those programs. The other thing, if people really want to serve with their time, getting involved and being a volunteer with VAVS, going to a VA facility or state veteran home to go visit our veterans and talk to veterans, they love that, just to thank them for their service. That really, that's what today, Veterans Day, is about. And just to be able to do that throughout the year. So our veterans who might be alone, who might not have any family support, to have somebody thank them is really a big deal. So just kind of spending that extra amount of time as well can be extremely helpful.
That is, and we so appreciate all of those out there who have been working and supporting and sending money and spending their time into the Purple Heart Foundation, because like I've said, everything goes to our veterans, and if not us, then who? If not now, then when? They served us, and it's our privilege to serve them. Wendy Buckingham with the Purple Heart Foundation. Thank you so much. And Wendy, thank you again so much for your service. For those who don't know, Wendy was in the United States Air Force 2008 to 2012, and she was in Baghdad too, and she received the Purple Heart Air Force Combat Action Medal. She's won a number of awards. So Wendy, God bless you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for serving other veterans as well. You continue to serve.
Thank you, Dana. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. And Purple Heart, give to purpleheart.org, folks. Wendy, thanks again. We appreciate your time today. You can go to givetopurpleheart.org. And, they and like Wendy said, they do so much for our veterans. And it's veterans helping veterans, which is what's so great. I mean, she served in Iraq, and now she's serving our veterans here, which is so awesome. And I can't say enough good things about it. We get a lot of feedback about it. About the car donation program and just a number of things that people can do in order to serve those who've served us. The PTS support, the vocational programs, the Canines for Combat Veterans grant. And remember, all donations 100% tax deductible. So don't just think about getting involved. Actually go and do get involved. Give to purpleheart.org. That's give to purpleheart.org. The number's 888-414-4483. That's 888-414-4483. 4483.